Chapter 1, Introduction to the Tao. Tao, often translated as the way, is not an abstraction, nor is it a god or a law that one can choose to follow or ignore. Rather, it is an intrinsic, natural force that permeates all existence, guiding the universe and everything within it. Tao is something that transcends the limits of language, something that resists being neatly defined or contained by conceptual frameworks. It is the essence of existence itself, an ever-flowing, ever-present process that existed before anything else and continues to guide the universe as it unfolds. In this chapter, we will explore Tao as an inherent process, a force that directs the world without force, shaping all things while remaining unseen and undefinable. Through examples from life, we will explore how we can interact with the Tao in a harmonious way without attempting to control or change it. The elusiveness of Tao beyond words and definitions. At the heart of Tao is its elusiveness. Unlike concepts found in Western thought, such as God or natural law, Tao does not provide a set of rules to follow, nor does it demand worship or submission. It is not an external force, but rather an internal, all-encompassing presence. The central difficulty in discussing Tao lies in its refusal to be captured by language. As Laozi, the ancient philosopher who wrote the foundational text of Taoism, the Tao Te Ching, states, "The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao." This paradox presents a unique challenge for those trying to understand or explain it. It is something that cannot be directly explained because it is not something external, but the very essence of life itself. In trying to explain Tao, we are forced to abandon the idea of defining it in any conventional sense. It exists in all things, yet cannot be captured by any specific form. This quality of Tao is akin to water, fluid, ungraspable, and adaptable. Water is the perfect metaphor for Tao because it's gentle and soft, yet capable of overcoming seemingly insurmountable obstacles. A river can wear down mountains over time, not through force, but through persistence and fluidity. In the same way, Tao is not a force that commands submission. It is an ongoing process that flows through everything, shaping and guiding all things through its very nature. Tao as the natural order, the way of the universe. Tao represents the natural order of the universe, the way things are meant to be, rather than a set of moral codes or rules that we must choose to follow. It is the cosmic force that existed before anything else, and it continues to guide the universe in a manner that is both subtle and profound. Unlike human-made laws, which are often rigid and enforceable, Tao operates in an organic, spontaneous manner. It does not need to be forced or coerced into existence. It simply is. To illustrate this, we can consider the growth of plants, and when a seed is planted in the soil, it does not struggle or wrestle with the earth to grow. It simply follows the natural process, drawing nourishment from the soil, reaching towards the sun, and growing into the plant it is meant to become. This growth is an example of Tao in action. The plant is not trying to be something else, and it is simply following the natural flow of its existence. The plant does not resist or fight the world around it. It exists in harmony with its environment, and through this harmonious existence, it flourishes. Similarly, human beings are not separate from this process. We too are part of the Tao, and we can find peace by aligning ourselves with it rather than resisting it. The challenge then is not to force things to happen, but to observe and flow with the natural rhythms of life. The role of non-action, Wu Wei. One of the key principles in Taoism is the concept of Wu Wei, often translated as non-action or effortless action. This concept is deeply connected to Tao itself. Wu Wei does not mean inaction or laziness. Instead, it refers to a way of being where one acts in perfect alignment with the natural flow of the world without forcing things to happen. It is about responding to the world with sensitivity and spontaneity, allowing actions to unfold naturally rather than striving to control outcomes. The idea of Wu Wei can be illustrated by considering the art of calligraphy. In traditional Chinese calligraphy, the brushstrokes are meant to flow naturally, guided by the hand, but also by the spirit of the artist. The calligrapher does not force the brush or make rigid movements. Rather, they allow the brush to move in harmony with the ink, paper, and their own mind. This act of creating something beautiful is not about striving to achieve perfection, but rather about allowing the creation to emerge as a natural expression of the Tao. This philosophy is also reflected in the way that many Taoist masters approach daily life. They do not force things into being, but instead cultivate a deep awareness of the world around them, responding to circumstances with grace and fluidity. They do not struggle against the flow of life, but rather allow themselves to move with it like a leaf floating on the surface of a stream. Harmony with Tao, a life of balance. To live in accordance with Tao is to live in harmony with the universe. This harmony comes from recognizing that we are not separate from the world around us, but are an integral part of it. When we stop trying to control every aspect of our lives and instead accept the world as it is, we allow ourselves to align with the Tao. The ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus, though not a Taoist, expressed a similar idea with his concept of the unity of opposites. He famously said, "You cannot step into the same river twice," implying that everything in life is constantly changing and flowing. Like the river, life moves and shifts, and our task is to learn to flow with it rather than resist it. An example of this can be seen in the lives of many great thinkers and spiritual figures throughout history. Albert Einstein, for instance, was deeply influenced by the idea of unity and interconnectedness in the universe. He saw the laws of physics not as rigid rules, but as expressions of a deeper, more mysterious flow of energy. In this sense, Einstein's perspective on the universe is very much in line with Taoist thinking. The world is not a mechanical machine governed by external laws, but a dynamic, interconnected process that is always in flux. Living in accordance with Tao, practical applications. In everyday life, living in harmony with Tao can take many forms. It is not about renouncing the world or withdrawing from society, but rather about learning to engage with the world in a way that is authentic, fluid, and unforced. For example, consider the way we handle relationships. Often, we try to control or manipulate others to fit our expectations. However, when we approach relationships with openness and acceptance, we allow others to be themselves, and we allow the relationship to develop naturally. This approach is in line with Taoist thinking, which emphasizes acceptance over control, patience over haste. In business, too, we can apply the principle of Tao. Rather than striving for constant growth and expansion at all costs, we can focus on building sustainable, harmonious practices that align with the natural rhythms of the world. This could mean investing in long-term relationships with clients, valuing collaboration over competition, and recognizing that success is not about dominating others, but about creating a balanced and mutually beneficial environment. Conclusion: the Tao of life. Tao is not something that can be fully understood through intellectual effort or grasped through force. It is a way of being that requires us to surrender our need for control and allow ourselves to flow with the natural rhythms of existence. In embracing Tao, we learn to live with less resistance, more openness, and greater peace. The Tao is always present, guiding the universe and all that exists. It is up to us to recognize it and move in harmony with it, allowing the natural process of life to unfold without interference. In this way, Tao is both a path and a destination, not something we chase after, but something we realize when we stop trying to impose our will upon the world. By aligning ourselves with the Tao, we find ourselves at peace with the world around us, and in doing so, we experience a life of effortless flow and unburdened joy.